We have to keep our people safe. We all agree that some of the madness on our roads cannot be tolerated. We can't live this way, as we carry on. So we begin today by asking all driving schools in the country to ensure that they are revalidated. Their licenses are revalidated by 1st of July. And by 1st of July, if they don't have the new generation licenses, which means that they have been revalidated, they will consider themselves closed. So from 2nd of May, the NTSA will be issuing new generation licenses, inspecting these schools, revalidating them, looking at their level of compliance and so on, to be sure that they are actually environments that are worthy of the task they undertake to prepare our drivers. I do not need to belabor this point, my friends. I mean, this is something we all know. I think the irresponsibility with which we have handled this is amazing even to ourselves. Some places, some behind shops, some funny dingy corners where people turn out and they have one ramshackle of a vehicle with some guy who, God knows when they were trained to drive and so on. Then they run around here and they go do 1-2 trips, then they end up compromising the system, and then they end up getting alliances and they end up on our roads. This now must come to an end for good, and it's going to come to an end. By 1st of July, if you have not been revalidated, consider yourself closed. The Inspector General of Police is here. The police will move in from 2nd of July, will move around these schools, the ones that have not been revalidated, and the process is going to be stringent and stiff. They will have to be physically inspected by NTSA inspectors together with the police before they can be allowed to continue holding their licenses to train our drivers. Secondly, we've asked the NTSA, and the Major is here. I have told him within the next 14 days, he must issue new inspection licenses to all towing and recovery vehicles on our roads. I do not need to belabor this. Let's be very honest with one another. I mean, when you see some funny Land Rovers around our roundabouts, you actually ask yourself, are we serious, really? Are we serious people? And many private car owners know this, that some of their cars have been destroyed by these vehicles. And then sometimes, I am not shy to say this, it appears that there is a collusion between those characters and some of our police officers. This madness has to come to an end. We have agreed in 14 days, anyone who is operating a towing and recovery vehicle has got to get a new inspection sticker. And NTSA will ensure that that inspection sticker is allowed. And if we see those funny-looking vehicles around the roads and so on asking and hassling our people, we will know that we have failed and we have not done the work we are supposed to do. And I promise you, we will do our work. Thirdly, we have begun a very active and programmed engagement. We are going to have a meeting with the IRA, who is the regulator of insurers. There is a certain level of collaboration now we want to have between the registration of vehicles and the insurers. We will have a conversation with our colleagues using the framework of IRA, so that then we institute a stringent mechanism of ensuring that the people who are on the roads and claim to own the vehicles are the genuine owners of the vehicles, and they are the legitimate owners of those vehicles. We will share information, we will share data, so that everyone has responsibility as we move forward. So we will begin with meetings with them, and small-scale engagements have begun with various transport sector stakeholders, which will culminate in a transport sector reform conference that we intend to have before the end of this financial year, before the 30th of June, where we'll sit together with the public service vehicle operators, the Matatu Welfare Association, the Motor Vehicle Owners Association, and all these people, the Bodybuilders Association, because we are going to introduce very stringent measures on bodybuilding, especially for public service vehicles. And I need to say this for those who are in that business, so that we don't have problems later on. If you can actually get time, sit down and read the law on the regulations and standards of bodybuilding for the buses. Because we are going to close you down for sure when we come to that point. Because if you are building substandard bodies for public service vehicles, you will be out of business. Because this time round, it must be an all-of-the-above approach. We have to get a total inclusion and relook of the sector where everyone involved plays their part. Those who build bodies comply with the regulations that have been given by the regulator, who is NTSA. The standards must be followed. And those who are operating buses have to be sure that their buses comply with the standards that have been given. For now, we will wait and have a meeting with them before we begin, because we don't want acrimony. What I'm assuring everyone is that we are going to implement stiff, and I'm describing them as stiff and painful measures, which will require that all of us think about the safety of our people and the welfare of our people. And everyone in the whole public service transport chain has got to be involved. But we will go about it step by step. We will sit down with the stakeholders. We are looking forward to a meeting with the bodybuilders before the end of June, so that we agree with them. They all understand the standards, and we will then hold them responsible if they do not comply. And the NTSA will work together with our colleagues at the Kenya Bureau of Standards to ensure that they comply with what is going to happen. We will not wait and experience a tragedy and then we begin working after the tragedy. We have agreed this time round, we will pursue the roadmap we have drawn for ourselves and the roadmap that we have drawn for the country. A 12-month program, and we are following every step of the way so that we implement these reforms together. And I promise members of the public and the stakeholders in the transport sector, we will consult them. We will work with them. No one's views will be ignored. But people have to understand this, that we can't all have our way and have an effective transport sector. We have to be reasonable people. It's a give and take. In certain cases, we have to give certain comforts and certain ways in which we have lived before so that we can have a credible transport sector regime in the country. So we begin this work, and I am asking the colleagues who are running driving schools in the country, effective 2nd of May, they can come here to NTSA and pick up the forms for revalidation and be taken through the process of revalidation. And we are giving them until July. So that's a long enough period for them to comply. When we get to July 1, that process of revalidation would have been complete. And if you have not been revalidated and you have not been allowed to continue operating a driving school, then logically you will have to close it. And we are not doing this because of anything else except that we must keep our people safe. And then this merry-go-round now must stop this hide and seek. And by the